On the prequel to the 17th episode of This Film is Lit, we'll be previewing The Princess Diaries and Ready Player One. Hello and welcome back to the aforementioned prequel to the 17th episode of This Film is Lit, podcast where we compare books to their movies. We're doing our first doubleheader because we're doing back-to-back weeks because Ready Player One comes out on an off week, or what would normally be a prequel week, but we wanted to get that one out right away after the film comes out, so we'll be doing it back-to-back with The Princess Diaries, so we're going to preview both of them here. Ready Player One is also the first Switch book/movie where I will be reading it and you will be watching it.
Yes. No reading for me.
No reading for you.
That time.
Just me reading this one. But first we're going to start with The Princess Diaries, which is our next book and thus film adaptation. So let's get into some fun facts about The Princess Diaries.
There she is right there. That's Mia Thermopolis.
Glamour, romance, fame. Mia Thermopolis had it all. But only in her dreams.
The name of the first book as well as the name of the series.
Okay.
Sadly, the film sequel, The Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement, is not based on any of the books.
Interesting. They had 10 choices and they...
I know. I did a lot of careful looking to make sure, because that's also a really fun movie. But it's not based on any of the books.
Okay.
The very last book in the series, though, is called Royal Wedding, and it made the jump from the young adult section of the bookstore to the adult section of the bookstore,
So
which
it's
is
just like sex.
I don't know. I've never read it.
It's just like explicit,
Maybe
detailed sexual encounters throughout the book.
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be it's probably more romance.
It just has some more adult themes.
Yeah, some more adult stuff in it. If she gets married,
Yeah.
then we can sanction that sex.
Then it's allowed.
Morality groups can't complain about it anymore if they're married. Mm-hmm. But it jumped from young adult to adult, a genre jump. So that's pretty unique for a series.
Yeah, you would think. Well, I guess if they went on long enough, if it was 11 books, I would imagine it took quite a while. Most of the people who started reading them when they were...
Yeah.
When they were younger, or, when it made sense, by the time they got to the 11th one, they were probably considerably older. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the same way, they never made a genre jump, but, like, the Harry Potter books...
Yeah. Harry Potter definitely aged
with
the
audience.
Yeah. I mean, it never made the jump to, like, being adult fiction.
No, like I said, it never genre jumped, but it definitely ages within the young adult fiction category, so... It's not completely unheard of.
Aside from this series, author Meg Cabot has written 80 plus other books. Wow. She writes a lot.
Yeah.
That includes a middle grade spin-off to The Princess Diaries called From the Notebooks of a Middle School Princess. Found out all kinds of stuff I didn't know about while I was looking up these fun facts. I had no idea she wrote so much.
Yeah, that's an insane amount. It feels like an insane amount. It's like pushing Stephen King levels, is it not? Like 80 books? He's probably written more than that, but there's a lot of short stories in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably getting that way wrong. I just know he's known for writing a lot of...
Yeah, he churns it out.
Yeah.
The Princess Diaries, the first book in that series, won a couple of smaller awards. It won the ALA Quick Pick for reluctant young adult readers, the New York Public Library Books for the Teen Age, and the Tennessee Volunteer State Book Award. None of these are awards I've ever heard of.
No.
But
they're awards nonetheless.
They're awards nonetheless. And I totally get the ALA Quick Pick for reluctant young readers, because this is a funny book. It's super amusing.
Yeah.
And it's not, like, it's interesting, but it's not, like, the material isn't tough.
Yeah.
It's a real easy read.
It's easy to get into, easy to read. There's something to be said for that, especially trying to find it for younger audiences. Obviously, it's interesting to have something that they can get into easier. Just for the record, I looked it up. Stephen King has written 54 novels, published 54 novels, but he's also written an additional But who knows, a lot of his books are considerably longer.
That's true. Yeah,
these are young adults.
Yeah, to be fair, she's writing mostly young adult and middle grade, and they tend to be
200 pages, 300 maybe.
On the shorter side.
Yeah.
And have less complex themes.
Yeah.
Another thing that I found while I was digging around on the internet, because this was one of those books where I kind of had a hard time finding trivia about it. There's a lot more out there about the movie.
Yeah.
But one interesting thing that I did find was that Princess Mia, the protagonist, and Genovia, the made-up country for this series, both have fake websites.
Huh.
She has an in-character blog, and there is a fake travel website.
And these were made for the book and not the movie?
I believe so, yeah.
Huh.
They were all linked, through the author's website. I had to dig around to find them. And it didn't look like they were movie-related. I didn't see any pictures from the movies or anything. But neither of them appear to have been active in a while.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, while she was writing them, sort of publicity-type stuff, tie-in stuff that, And then it just, as the series wound down, she stopped doing that. Makes sense.
So that's all I have.
All right. Well, I have a few things about the movie here. Princess Diaries, which came out and I don't have that, 2004? No. Yes.
It's somewhere between 2001 and 2004, because I remember vaguely how old I was when I went to see it.
2001.
There we go. 2001
film. It's directed by the late, great Gary Marshall, who directed not millions, but literally dozens of movies. Pretty Woman. All of those day movies that have a bunch of random rom-com actors and actresses in them, like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day.
Oh, God.
All those.
I forgot about those.
Yeah, I did a lot of those. But probably most famously, and I can't pretend to be a Gary Marshall fan. I think I've seen Pretty Woman at some point in my life, but it's been a long time. But he's generally dabbled more in the rom-com type of genre, or just romance, drama, comedy area. It's co-produced by Whitney Houston.
Really?
It's weird and random, but
I didn't know that.
I'm sure I think she's produced a few movies, but I don't know how many. But I just saw that, so that was strange. Other thing I had no idea, which makes sense, I guess, now that I know it's 2001. It's a little earlier. But this is Anne Hathaway's first film.
Yeah.
Did not know that. This is her debut film, so that's interesting. The reason she was hired for the role was because Gary Marshall's granddaughter saw her audition tape and said that she had the best princess hair.
Aww.
So that's supposedly one of the main reasons.
That's cute.
That he picked her. But one of the first choices before her was Liv Tyler. Which makes sense.
See that.
This is coming right around the time she was cast, or she would already have been in, because the first one had come out by now, Lord of the Rings, as Arwen. So
so she would have been a big name.
So, but that was actually why they ended up not going with her, was because they wanted a new face. They wanted somebody new. And also it's a few years after Armageddon, which was a huge
I don't know if I can imagine her looking plain enough for the beginning of this movie. Like, Anne Hathaway is really pretty.
Yeah.
But she's normal looking enough.
Yeah.
That they were able to make her look kind of plain.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of making her look plain, she had to wear a thick clip-in hairpiece at the beginning to make it all bushier. And it was known as the Beast by the cast and the crew. So when you watch the beginning of the film, maybe later, I don't know, but it sounded like the beginning before her makeover or whatever.
Yeah,
that's a thing that happens. She wore a big clip-in hairpiece. During filming, there's a scene where this is all, I have never seen this film, so these are things I will look out for. There's a scene where she trips and falls in the bleachers. That was real. She just tripped while they were doing the scene, and they thought it was funny, so they left it in the movie. And then finally, the cat in the film, Fat Louie, is her actual cat.
Aww.
Anne Hathaway's actual cat. Well, they used 4, but one of them, there was like one that did more like physical, like did stuff. There was one that, they did a couple different things. They had different cats, but the one that is like the main, like that they got the other ones to match was her cat.
Cool.
So, there you go.
That explains why the cat was so nice to her.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It works. So apparently there's also a scene where somebody gets caught on fire and they're supposed to go out much sooner. And then there's a moment where Anne Hathaway panics and throws water on it. And that wasn't scripted, but that actually happened because the fire didn't go out when it was supposed to.
Oh.
So look out for that. But I mean, nobody got hurt or anything. It did eventually go out. It just didn't. It wasn't as planned, shall we say? So that's all I got for The Princess Diaries. I'm looking forward to watching this, I guess.
I'm really looking forward to it because I consider this movie like really iconic. It's like a staple of my young adulthood.
I can see that.
And I'm really excited that you haven't seen it, and I'm super excited to watch it with you.
I can see that. That's definitely right in the wheelhouse of when those most formative sort of films come out. Like, I don't know if I've ever even talked about it on here or anywhere, really. But for me, one of those movies is The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, which I think was 99 or 2000. So, right, same ballpark where you're a year and a half younger than me. So, like, that lines up. Or I guess you're a year younger than me, not a year and a half. Whatever. Yeah. Close enough. So that lines up right in that 13-year-old, 12, 13, 14 age range where you're old enough and smart enough to start really comprehending movies. And also, but not yet old enough to be cynical.
Yeah.
So, like, everything is, like, super awesome for a few years. And it's also when you can first start watching, like, PG-13 and R-rated movies is kind of right in that window. So, yeah, I could see how a movie like this would be one of those that, is a sort of a cultural touchstone for a woman your age. But I've never seen it, so I was too busy watching The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, which I believe came out in 2001. So maybe we'll have to... Those are not based on books, unfortunately, but they are some of my favorite films. All right. That's going to do it for The Princess Diaries. That's going to be our next episode this coming Tuesday. But now we're going to move on to the one that's coming out after that, which is going to be in theaters. It's Ready Player One.
My name's Wade Watts. My dad picked that name because it sounded like a superhero's alter ego, like Peter Parker or Bruce Banner. But he died when I was a kid. My mom, too. And I ended up here. Sitting here in my tiny corner of nowhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere. Except the oasis.
All right, I have the book notes for this one because I am reading the book currently about a third of the way through. I've had a tough go of it so far. It's gotten better, I will say that. It's gotten less... Well, I don't want to ruin anything. It's smoothed out, and I'm finding it less annoying to read. And I don't want to damn the movie or the book straight away. But it's the last little bit has been better, and I think I'll be able to move through it a little faster. We'll see. So, Ready Player One, 2011 book. It is the debut novel of American author Ernest Cline. He had another novel come out a few years later that I don't remember the name of, that was not very well received. But
the Ready Player One, the novel, was pretty popular.
Oh, incredibly well received. It is only recently, and I say recently, somewhat recently, had a sort of reverse opinion, or sort of negative opinion start to creep up in more and more people from what I've kind of gathered, because I only ever heard good things about it when it first came out. And I mean, all the mainstream, like, it had, like, a ton of great reviews, and all the mainstream, like, publications all gave it good reviews and that sort of thing. I'm a little surprised by that as I read it now, and especially by one particular review by the Huffington Post, which I'll just get to here. Rebecca Searle from the Huffington Post described the book, and this is actually on the cover of the version I'm reading, this pull quote, as the grown-ups Harry Potter. Which, Not sure I could disagree with that more in terms of quality and content, but at least so far, again, I'm about a third of the way through the book, but to me it has lacks a lot of the charm that I found in Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter is the grown-ups version of Harry Potter, but sure. Anyways, she went on to say that it has all the nostalgia, got that one right. Trivia, 100% correct. Adventure, romance, heart, adventure maybe. And dare I say it, some very fascinating social commentary. We'll see where that goes, because right now that social commentary for me is...
It's really funny watching you try to, withhold judgment
I know,
on this book.
Boy. I'm really interested to see where that social commentary, if things change by the second half. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. We'll see. Audio book was released the same day, and it's narrated by Will Wheaton, which is interesting and random. He's mentioned in the book at one point because of Star Trek, probably. Which, if you don't know, Will Wheaton played Wesley Crusher on Star Trek. He's also he's done a bunch of stuff, but more recently he was that guy from Dark Matter. If you watch that show we liked on Sci-Fi called Dark Matter, he was one of the evil scientists in that. It won I love this about it. It won the 2012 Prometheus Award, which there's so many things I love about this. One, it's called the Prometheus Award, and my well-documented hatred for the film Prometheus.
Don't get him started.
No, I'm not gonna get started. Not even because it's not even relevant. But it just thought it was funny that this book happened to have an award named after the worst movie ever made, which is, as it turns out, an award for libertarian science fiction, which I didn't know was a genre, but it is.
I did not either.
Here's what that is. It's given by the Libertarian Futurist Society. And what libertarian science fiction is, it's a subgenre, obviously, of science fiction. Focuses on the politics and social order implied by right libertarian philosophies with an emphasis on individualism and private ownership of the means of production.
Okay.
Yeah. If you need an example of what kind of writing wins this award, Ayn Rand won it a bunch of times. Ayn Rand, won it a bunch of times. Or at least, she was one of the few authors listed that won it multiple times. So, I think Orwell also did, so take it.
I can't imagine there's a ton of people writing in this subgenre.
Yeah, probably more than you'd think, I would imagine, but...
Yeah.
I haven't gotten into any sort of libertarian themes, I would say, yet. At least not from... It seems like it. I mean, other than the sort of general main story of the main character trying to win a prize that will give him a bunch of money, but I don't know. Well, like I said, I gotta get further. I gotta finish it and then I'll.
Well, yeah. I mean, that'll probably be the message that it ends up at. Yeah, I'm sure.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, and that's. Probably why some of the super lefty people that I follow on Twitter don't like it. So, or among other reasons. I already have seen some of the reasons. And finally, so a version of this that came out recently had a prequel short story. The 2016 edition of Ready Player One is a precursor story to the main novel, and it's considered canon for the universe of Ready Player One.
Okay.
And it's called Lacero, Lacero. And it was a fanfic story written by Andy Weir.
Really?
Who is the author who wrote The Martian and more recently Artemis.
Huh.
Yeah. Which doesn't surprise me because it just doesn't surprise me. Andy Weir strikes me as that kind of person. Or as that kind of nerd, I guess is the right word. And also, they have similar clunky writing styles, I think, and sort of I'm a big fan of Andy Weir. I really like The Martian, and I really enjoyed Artemis. But they're very. I think him, and so far from what I've seen with Ready Player One, they're good at sort of broader ideas and story elements, and especially the nitty gritty technical, nerdy stuff. Andy Weir's big thing, if you've read The Martian or even seen the movie, it transposes pretty well from the book, is he's really into the science, he's really into the nitty gritty and the math And, like, so when you read The Martian, you're getting, like, all the calculations and all the, about, like, how much food he has and how much it's going to take to grow, and he explains the process of growing the potato. Like, so he goes into really interesting depth and detail about all that stuff, and he's really knowledgeable in all that stuff and does a lot of research. But some of the more, like, character-y elements and dialogue sometimes is a little more clunky and doesn't feel quite as polished and well written or thought out as other authors. So it doesn't surprise me that he would read Ready Player One and be like, I love this, I want to write a fanfic about this. Also for other reasons, which we'll get into on the main episode. But so yeah, I thought that was just funny and interesting that I had no idea, because I guess I don't have the 2016 version, because the one I'm reading doesn't have that story in it. So it must be an older version. I borrowed it from a friend at work, so I don't know which version I have, but. So, Ready Player One, I've heard really good things about the film. Oh, yeah, we get to talk about your fun facts on the film. I forgot about that. I'm not used to that. I'm used to going last.
I know.
So, go ahead, and then we'll talk about it.
All of my fun facts are off of IMDb.
Yeah.
Because I was really worried about spoilers. I'm not used to having to do this portion of it.
Yeah.
And I was worried about spoilers, so I was like, I don't want to branch out too much.
I always have trouble doing that, and luckily IMDb breaks up their trivia and interesting stuff. They supposedly do it where they hide the spoilers. They don't always do a very good job, but anyways,
okay, so film was directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yes, which I'm excited about.
It stars a lot of people whose names I didn't recognize.
Yeah, it's a bunch of new people.
And also Simon Pegg.
Yeah, Pegg's in it. And one of the, I think from the trailers, I've seen all the trailers, but a lot of so much of it is spent in the virtual world that you don't see the actors as much.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them, but what's her name? Somebody, well, and it's a spoiler, but there's a character, it's a spoiler that I'm not even at in the book, but I know what it is because of what I saw in the trailers. But there's a character who is in Master of None, Aziz Ansari's show.
The French girl?
No, the one who he goes to Thanksgiving, or comes to Thanksgiving at his house.
Oh.
And she's gay.
Yeah.
And it's like a thing.
Yeah.
Or he goes to her parents' house
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving, and it's like they were like best friends.
Yeah, that
up.
was the best episode.
And that was a
of
really
whole
good
season.
episode that season. There's a whole episode about her character and sort of her coming out story and growing up, and it's Thanksgiving for like... Anyways, but she's in it. She plays one of the main characters, I think. Again, that's spoilery, but... Anyway, sorry.
The author co-authored the screenplay along with Zach Penn.
Yeah, I knew Zach Penn wrote it. Who wrote?
Also adapted screenplays. He's done a lot of stuff, but I picked some that were specifically adaptations. He adapted X2, The Incredible Hulk, and Inspector Gadget.
Is that a future one? The live or the one that...
No,
the one with Matthew Broderick from... Oh, boy. But what he also did is he wrote The Avengers. Yeah, he wrote The Avengers, but he also wrote X-Men 3. Oh, God. So this could go lots of directions. And again, with The Avengers, he was probably basically co-writing that with Joss Whedon. Yeah. And this he's co-writing with Ernest Cline. So, we'll see. It'll be really interesting. Cinematography done by Janusz Kaminski, who has an established Janus, I believe, partnership with Spielberg. He worked on like Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. No, it'll be gorgeous. Yeah, Steven Spielberg and Kaminski are it'll be gorgeous film, but that's not what I was worried about. So we'll see. There were 5 other directors that were considered for this film. All right, let me hear it. I actually want you to try to guess at least a couple of them. Oh, I can guess at least. Because a lot of these are directors that we know and like and have talked about. And would make sense, probably. Mm-hmm. I would say one would be Edgar Wright. Yes. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad he didn't. Actually, no, he would have made an amazing one. He would have taken everything I don't like about... I'm still... Like I said before, think that Spielberg... I could see this movie being a really good adaptation and getting rid of all the stuff I haven't liked so far and fixing all the elements and making really good. So, but yeah, Edgar Wright would be one. What's his name who did Kingsman? Yes. Vaughn. Yes. Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn? Yes. Yeah. Okay, 2 for 2. I think I can get all 5 of these. I could see Brad Bird, but I'm not going to guess Brad Bird yet. I might. I'm going to give me a second on that one. I could see if they would have tried to get Brad Bird, would have made sense. I could see them trying to get Joss Whedon, honestly, would make sense. But I don't want to say Joss Whedon either. He was too busy doing other stuff, I feel like. Yeah, I agree. You know what? I will say Brad Bird.
No.
Ow! I had a feeling. Edgar Wright, Matthew Vaughn. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if, but he was doing so much stuff, but they still could have been attached at some point. Zack Snyder.
Mm-mm.
Ridley Scott, maybe.
No.
No? Okay.
Think sprawling epic fantasy.
Oh, Peter Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I also wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get, Duncan Jones.
No.
Not on there? Okay. He did, like, Warcraft, and, well, I could have thought of them trying to get him before Warcraft, but now post-Warcraft, it probably makes more sense that they wouldn't. But, yeah, Peter Jackson, I guess that makes sense. And then I'm not sure.
Think dark, gritty superhero.
That's why I said Zack Snyder. Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. The last one I don't think you'll get.
Okay.
I didn't recognize this guy, and I scrolled through his IMDb, and I don't...
All right, just throw it at me.
Robert Zemeckis?
Oh, Zemeckis, yeah. Zemeckis,
we've not talked about him. We've
Back
never
to the
talked
Future.
about him. I know, but we've never talked about him.
No, yeah, we haven't. But yeah, that makes
I know.
perfect sense. I can't believe I didn't.
He directed a bunch of motion capture films.
Oh.
Like he did Polar Express.
Yes, that's right.
Beowulf, that version of
Yeah.
A Christmas Carol with
Yeah.
what's his name, Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
was
Jim
it?
Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, because the motion capture probably used a fair amount of it, and
yeah, because I mean, based on the trailers, it looks like a lot of it is motion capture.
yeah, it seems like it at least, and it makes sense too because it's so steeped in 80s nostalgia that I mean, literally, like DeLoreans and stuff are like in the movie, so it makes sense to try to get the guy who wrote, who lived that nostalgia or lived that, you know.
This movie sounds like it had to have been a nightmare for a team of intellectual property lawyers.
I don't know how they did it. I legit don't know how. I mean, I don't even know who all the characters are in it, but I'm confused at how they're going to have to make that all work.
The list of references on IMDb, I didn't look at all of them because, again, I didn't want spoilers, but it's like over 30 items long.
Well, if it's, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it, because like, it just seems like some of the characters just show up, and that's a lot of that action stuff with all those characters and stuff is where I haven't gotten to that point yet at all. Like, I feel like that's the second half of the book stuff, where like Iron Giant's like running around doing stuff, and now I don't know if that happens in the book or not, but like, the stuff I'm at so far, they've mentioned a lot of properties, but they haven't been in the world. Like, there hasn't been like characters or things from those properties, some to some extent, but not like in the way it is seen in the trailers so far. But again, I'm only a third of the way through the book. So.
But another interesting fact though. There are apparently references to Spielberg and Spielberg properties in the novel. Yeah,
Indiana Jones is all over it.
But he said he was going to be taking those references out.
Interesting. I wonder why. Because there's a.
I mean, maybe he wasn't comfortable, like, including references to himself. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. It would feel weird and self-indulgent.
Yeah.
But it's just in the book. Like, I don't know. And again, a lot of these things that I've seen so far, the references that have been to movies and films and stuff, have just been in... I don't even know the right way to describe it. The character telling the audience about these things and not actually manifesting in the world in any way. Like, it's just like we're hearing the thoughts of the character, and he's thinking about his favorite movies, and he lists off his favorite. That doesn't
sound that interesting.
Wait till we get to, there's a page and a half of this book that is, I don't know how an editor didn't go, "What are you doing?" It's the most ridiculous page and a half I've ever, like, one of the most ridiculous pages and a half I've ever read, or 2 pages I've ever seen in a novel, of just like, you know, there's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get to that episode. But
speaking of the Iron Giant, a couple
Yeah.
mentions ago.
Yeah, he's in the trailers.
Vin Diesel is doing the voice again.
That makes sense.
19 years after Brad Bird's The Iron Giant. Last fun fact. Before his untimely death, Gene Wilder was approached by Spielberg, who wanted him to appear in the film. And Gene Wilder respectfully declined.
That sounds right about Gene Wilder. Seems like the kind of guy who'd be like, nah, I'm good.
No thanks.
I'm good.
Although I did notice that they used pure imagination in the trailers.
Yeah.
So
I apparently had the rights to... I'm trying to look up... I forgot who was actually producing this. Like, what studio is...
I have no idea.
Warner Brothers is distributing the film. It's not Disney.
Not Disney.
But they still own a fair amount of IP on some of the characters. In fact, Iron Giant's Disney, is he not? What is Iron Giant? He might be Warner Brothers.
Yeah, Iron Giant's not Disney, I don't think.
So maybe that's why he has a big...
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you'll have to pay attention in the book, because I'd be interested to see if they, like, swap out any characters, because they don't have the rights to them.
Because Iron Giant is a Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And also, Iron Giant, it's weird that he's in the trailers now that I think about it, because he's not a fucking 80s character at all.
Yeah.
Came out in 99. And, like, everything else, it's just, like, 80s. Like,
yeah.
I can still see potentially being... But the Iron Giant has not been mentioned so far a third into the book. So I'm wondering if it's not, like...
If maybe it was supposed to be, like, Transformer or something?
Yeah, like, if it wasn't supposed to be something
like
strange,
Optimus
like
Prime?
Yeah, like Optimus Prime. And they're like, we'll just get Iron Giant. It's, like, the same thing, right? Yeah.
Sure.
But we'll see. Yeah, that's interesting. It could literally, I would not be surprised if it was something like that.
Yeah.
Where it was supposed to be,
you should definitely, like, make note of that.
I didn't think about that before, but now I will.
Because I would be real interested to see.
Since it is Warner Brothers, and Iron Giant's been, like, all in all their trailers. I mean, but they've also because, like, Tracer shows up at one point from Overwatch, which is a Blizzard IP, so I don't fucking know how they're how they figured that all out. Maybe they just did a thing where they found studios willing to play ball because they were like, yeah, it's only good marketing for us.
It's true, yeah.
To be in your movie about how awesome all these things are. So, all right. But yeah, that's Ready Player One. I'm really interested to finish the book first. And again, there's elements to the book so far that I really like and I think could be done really well. And the book could still finish out strong and do it well within the book. I just have also had my fair share so far of sort of problems with the book, shall we say. So, both from a technical standpoint and from thematic and message and sort of social elements. But it hasn't taken away completely. Like I said, and lately it's gotten a lot better, and I haven't hated it as much as I did for the first while. So, we'll see. That's that.
We have an Instagram now.
Yeah, we have an Instagram. How do they find that?
You just search This Film Is Lit on Instagram.
There you go.
We're at This Film Is Lit.
Yes.
And we are posting content.
So much content.
All the content.
Content.
So follow us on Instagram if that's your thing.
Yes. But yes, that's going to do it for this prequel episode. Go out, catch back up on Princess Diaries, the book or the movie. And then go see Ready Player One this weekend. Read it if you haven't, or don't. Just one of the two. Go see the movie. And then come back and hear our breakdown of Ready Player One. So until next time, keep reading books, keep watching movies, keep being super sweet.